going forward, we started with cannabis, so we're now going to change gears a little bit and go into, as in cannabis, as in what he calls marijuana, go into fiber. So the next speaker is going to talk to us about a topic called a Natural Fibre Hub for Hemp fiber cultivation and process research and development at Gqeberha. The speaker is Andy Radford, and Andy has a master's degree in industrial administration from University of Cape Town and more than 20 years of general management experience in various industries. During his time as director of the Composites Center and Competency at the CSIR, he's a former CSIR person, he co-founded the Nelson Mandela Bay Composites Cluster in 2016 to bridge the gap between industry, academia, and government. Research outputs include various advanced materials and manufacturing proposals, articles, papers, including the bio-based chemicals landscape feasibility study of South Africa, which he co-authored for the Department of Science and Technology. Working with the CSIR and the Coega Development Corporation, he is managing the establishment of the Natural Fibre Hub at Coega Special Economic Zone. The hub provides the agro-processing capability that links the farmer to the factory in a sunrise natural fiber industry, which includes hemp. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Radford is a managing director of the Composites Group, consults on the UK Research and Innovations One Ocean Hub, and lectures at the University of Nelson Mandela Business School. He conceptualized and co-hosts the prestigious annual African Advanced Manufacturing and Composites Show, which was held in Gqeberha in 2018 and 2019, and as you can imagine, stopped because of COVID and will shortly be reinstated again. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me pleasure to welcome on stage Mr. Andy Radford.
Good morning. My friends call me Andy Cap, and I've just flown in from Gqeberha, Port Elizabeth in the Eastern Cape. It's my pleasure and my privilege to actually represent the team, some of whom are here today, in this very exciting initiative, and I will be giving you the recipe as to how to grow a car from natural fiber, of course. The Natural Fibre Hub is a new initiative. We conceptualized it 2 years ago as a mutual agreement between the CSIR and Coega Development Corporation. Those of you who don't know, just north of the old Port Elizabeth harbour is a new harbour known as Coega. And there's a special economic zone of significant size. In fact, it's about 22 kilometers down the N2 from the start to the finished fences, and has in it various industrial hubs and zones, in particular a rather large automotive representation. So to get into the first ingredient for our car is to unpack this particular fiber, which is the industrial hemp fiber. We put the word industrial in front of it because it is used for other things. And on the left, we've got the bush itself, and on the right, we've got the cottonized fiber. It's a beautiful fiber. In 2013, I had the privilege of going to Camden Market outside of London and buying myself a pair of hemp jeans. That was 2013. I still wear them. They're a bit tighter now, but they're beautiful. They have kept the color. They're still blue. And they have, from the word go, a beautiful, soft feeling to them, quite different to cotton. To pick up on what Blessed was saying, cannabis and industrial hemp are close cousins, I call them. And on one side, you've got a tall, thin one, and on the other side, you've got a short, fat one. The short, fat one is the cannabis, planted 60 to 100 centimeters apart. Doesn't grow much above man height or human height. Industrial hemp, on the other side, is a tall, skinny one. The cousin that likes to hobnob close. They get planted using wheat planters. The seeds are really close together and are nice and tall. You know, we talk about 4 meters in length. They, in this case, are actually on a trial basis, so there are rows down between them. But they typically don't have any leaves except for that tuft at the top, for the simple reason that the sunlight can't get down to the stalk. As a result, they grow beautiful straight stalks that provide for us a very high quality fiber. Now, let's talk about the industry and where these fibers can result, where they can end up. And I'll give you two extremes. The one is the construction sector, where these fibers go into things like acoustic and thermal insulation. You get hempcrete, which is a form of building material, can be turned into a hempcrete block, a brick, can also be used over straw bales to render, to actually plaster, and so on. And then on the other side, we have the automotive sector, where the parts are obviously of a completely different value. And we have got on the left the construction industry, which has high volume but low value. And on the right, we've got the automotive sector, which has got low volume but high value. So which one do we look at in South Africa? And the answer is, well, let's start with the automotive sector, since we don't have much fiber. And let's get it right. Let's start growing fiber of a decent quality, and let's start getting that value. Let's start getting that value chain going in South Africa. Then let's move into upscaling and diversifying, and then we are comfortable to start looking at the construction sector. So that's the strategy. This is typically with the parts that you'll find in the Mercedes C-Class being built in East London. And just down the road from the Mercedes factory at their IDZ or SEZ now is Yanfeng or Johnson Controls, who produce some of these parts through what we call, the technology is called thermo-compression molding. And effectively, it's a blanket that comprises about 50% fiber, usually hemp, and 50% polyprop, or even PET. And those get turned into a non-woven blanket. The plastic gets melted in an oven, and it gets pushed into a cold mold, which actually stamps out the door liners and other shapes. Now, on the floor here are also a whole bunch of normal non-wovens, which are just the insulations and the padding, for example, in the boot. And so on the firewall of the car. So as you can see from the slide, there's lots of opportunity in a car to actually go natural, which is why we call the project Grow a Car. Let's pick up on the relative prices for the downstream hemp industry. And this is a bit dated, but it's in rands per kilogram, which is what we're after. And you'll find that the fiber trading at that stage around 9 rand a kilo. The herd, you know, the leaves and the pots inside the bast, about 6 rand. Oil, a decent 100 rand a kilo. Seed cake at 50, and the dehulled seeds at 115 are the highest value. But what this slide isn't showing is the proportional volumes that you get per ton of biomass coming off the field. So don't be confused by this. There is a large portion of that biomass is in fact fiber, as much as 40%, usually between 20 and 40. The biomass has got a water content also of about 20%. Industrial hemp in South Africa, and in particular in our neck of the woods, the Eastern Cape, has got a program. And they have so far also issued a couple of permits, 20 of them, to 20 farmers of 50 hectares. So we have got the possibility of growing 1,000 hectares, which is brilliant. In fact, all we need for the Mercedes C-Class when they had 120,000 cars a year was 54 hectares. So we can actually do a lot with 1,000 hectares. They have got more permitted land. However, the seed budget is a bit slight. So what we're needing to do right now to enable the industries to get off-take, we're speaking with various countries, we're speaking with our local partners, and once we've got an off-take agreement, we can then go and buy the seed and we can employ the farmers. There is an Eastern Cape Hemp Producers Association, which collaborates with Walter Sisulu University, and some of the key companies working in the space is Hemporium, Labat, who represented here this morning, HealthCan, HempVest, House of Hemp, and so the list goes on. There are new players arriving. Literally every quarter, we're starting to see them coming, and interest being shown from elsewhere in the world. Exec have actually put out a cannabis report, a policy for the Eastern Cape. And then a tips report in terms of the job creation on the farm. You have crop planting, crop maintenance, and harvesting. Twice a year, yes, you can ratoon it, which is where you cut the stalk at about a foot off the ground, and it'll actually regrow, sometimes as many as 7 stalks. But typically, we can also put in 2 plantings during the summer season. And then auxiliary services that support the service, agro-processing, transport. Now, what's of interest is that 12% of these jobs are actually in agriculture, 16% in manufacture, and 15% in management and administration. So it shows that there's a great opportunity for us to actually increase the number of jobs in agriculture, and for us to also do not only commercial farming, but community-based farming. There's a Polish hemp program focusing on seeds, and I thought this would be quite an interesting slide to illustrate to you the difference in the different cultivars. There's 4 over here of differing heights, and they have different volumes and outputs in terms of grain, straw, herds, fiber, and CBD. Now, this particular one, I won't mention the name, you're welcome to read it yourself, has got equal volumes of fiber and CBD, but when you get to the Henola, there is no fiber in it. And the illustration here is that one can actually get the right cultivar to actually get CBD and fiber, if you get that right. Now, the ARC, Agricultural Research Council in South Africa, have been doing trials for many years. I've been in this game for 10 years now, and they were actually going before I got involved. And they have got two varieties. One's called SA1 and the other one's SA2, as you would expect. And they are arid crops, but they are not necessarily grown to give us those 2 of fiber and CBD. Now, let's get specific. Let's talk about the Natural Fibre Hub. Hit our website. It's naturalfibrehub.coza. And it's really making this industry a reality. From farm to factory to finished product. It comprises of equipment that's been bought over the years by the CSIR in Gqeberha to set up, first of all, the technical textiles division and then the biocomposites migration. And it comprises 2 lines, the Tomafa line, which is a German green set of machines, which opens the bale, it opens the fiber, it cottonizes it, you get a bit of dust, and you get out the other side of it hemp that looks like cotton wool, and you can really do a lot with it. We then go into a non-woven line. These are 2 factories, they're 400 squares each, and we've just linked the 2. You just roll the fiber across to the non-woven, and there we do carding, cross-lapping, needle punch, aqua jetting. We can put some foam into it, so we can put some fire retardants and so on into the fiber. Because it's wet, we then need to dry it in an oven. We've got calendars, which are ironers, and finally you have a non-woven. Now the AquaJet is a very interesting piece of equipment, very expensive, the only one in Africa. It's limited in terms of its semi-industrial width. It's about 600 to 900 miles wide, but it comprises of very high pressure hydro entanglement. It shoots the fibers using high pressure water rather than needle punching, which uses needles. And it's got particular advantages in that one, it wets the fiber, you can then start putting foams into it and so on. But if we were to diversify, and we will be running other crops like pineapple leaf, we'll be looking at agave. But if we went to basalt, for example, aquajetting is the solution for turning on non-woven from basalt fiber. To finish up then, just a few slides to whet your appetite, and you're welcome to pay us a visit when you're in the area. This is the Tamafa line, showing that it's a batch type operation. So there we go. It's batch operation. We feed it over here, and these various ducts actually pass it through various spinning machines, and over here is a cottonizer that produces the fiber the way we want it. And finally, this is a picture of the non-woven line, starting at the bottom here with carding over here. That's the aquajet, that machine there, and finally coming off as a non-woven product. And the aquajet, because it uses high pressure water, 250 kPa, has got some rather large pumps and so on, and as a result requires 800 amps of electricity feed to this factory. So energy is of critical importance to us, not only electricity but also gas, LP gas. And that, ladies and gents, is really how we've come to the stage that we are at the moment, and it's really about working together. Thank you.